Hey everybody, this is Maxine Taylor with another edition of Move into the Magic, where I interview the movers and shakers of our planet today. And my guest today, I love him to pieces. He is truly one of our movers and shakers, Dr. Richard Bartlett. Those of you who have taken any of his weekend seminars, workshops, know that he is truly a magician. He is the developer of matrix energetics, but that doesn't even begin to tell it. He has transformed my life. Back in 2007, when I took my first weekend seminar, I was transformed. Many of you are nodding your heads out there because you too have been transformed. We're going to talk today about the last weekend I attended, which blew me out of the frame when he came to Atlanta, Holo-SETS. He's all over the world now, so you're going to want to get on a plane and go to wherever he is, because there's nothing like being with Richard in person. So without further ado, darling Richard, welcome again to Move Into the Magic.
Oh, shucks, Maxine, you just embarrassed me. Well, yeah, I guess. So some of Holo-SETS, which is what we're talking about now, it's holographic synchronous technology systems, some energetic technology systems, and that name just came to me, and it's a ridiculous long name, so we just call it Holo-SETS. But basically, the idea from the book The Matrix, we're living in a hologram, and now scientists are starting to talk about this more. And again, scientists, their math is not like lining up with what they think reality should be doing, and all the theories are conflicting. In fact, now I think it's Dr. Graves, Obama's physicist, says that there is actually computer code that comes from the I think he said the 1940s or 1950s, that is embedded in superstring, in the equations for superstring theory. He found actual computer code. This has got to be a virtual simulation. Now, of course, when we're in pain, when we have diseases, when we're dying of cancer, all these horrible things, it seems very real. It is very real to us, but our perceptual biases then drive somewhat our expression of that reality. Yes. So the question for me has always been, how can we get deeper into the fabric of so-called reality and interface with that virtual simulation in order to do the littlest possible, because that's the key, do the littlest possible to allow that to shift, so there's more probabilities available in each increment of possibility in each moment.
Wow. Wow, I love it. I love it. Please keep going. I'd love you to share some stories, success stories. I know you probably got thousands of them, just to show people what they can get from just attending a weekend with you.
Well, we just had a young man who attended the seminar wherever I was. I can't remember where I was. I think it was in Minneapolis. And he was there because he heard a voice tell him to go to the seminar. Now, he didn't have any reference for the seminar. He did not have any medical or healing training. He was not a healer. I don't even remember what he did for a living. He is from Australia. He was supposed to go back to Australia, but then he decided to go to this seminar because he heard this voice tell him to do so. So there he is, and he's a very healthy young man, looked very healthy anyway, had a congenital heart problem, been with him his whole life. And in the Holo-SETS class and in MED, and that you attended, we get into the energetic expression of the physiology, the functions of the body, how it shows up as a hologram. And once you realize you're dealing with patterns of energy, light, and information and resonance with your perceptual filters, shifting that information, even a little bit, tweaking that information in a pattern can change the pattern. It's like taking something and say your sofa's here and you rearrange it here. And more to the point for me, if I took my speakers in my musical system here, and I put one here and then shifted where that's angled, it's going to change my experience of the sound. So it's the same thing with the physiology, with the chemistry, with the body, even with the emotions and the mind. So anyway, he's in this seminar, has no reference for any of it, never met me, didn't know what he was experiencing. We started working on him. At one point, we were using the modules that we talk about in Holo-SETS, and the modules are a virtual reality construction of a, call it an otherworldly software that runs patterns in configurations that I've programmed through an intuitive awareness and an interface with the pattern. So the pattern holds the information. So we had another participant running this pattern, and he felt this warmth go through his legs. He felt these waves of energy rush up his spine, and he felt his heart actually change rhythm. Now this kind of scared him because he has arrhythmia that's been a big problem for him, and when it's behaving itself, he's okay, but it's been there his whole life. It's congenital. Yeah. So it scared him when he felt his heart flip a rhythm. But it was a very physical thing, and this is my point. So we worked on him a few times, and in the experience of that, he experienced massive shifts both in his consciousness and in his physical body. So that's one, and that's most recent in a seminar. We have one of our participants who did the same thing, working with the modules. She has 19 dogs, at least that's her name, and so she saw a woman who was very distressed in the vet's office. She's in the vet's office a lot with 19 dogs. Sure. And this dog had, he was paralyzed. And his hind legs, he just woke up, I guess, one day, couldn't move his hind legs. So she said, well, you know, if you bring your dog over to my house, which is kind of her clinic, I guess, then I'd be happy to work on him for free. So she's doing the modules in Holo-SETS, holding these patterns, actually MHRT as well, which is another thing I teach. And the dog, when she got to a certain module, she's holding it over his, quote, the dog's heart chakra. Dog suddenly just gets up, wags its tail, jumps off the table, and runs out into the backyard to bark at another dog. And so results not typical, you know, your results may vary. I had a woman, so in my Skype practice, which I use all this technology every day, all the time, it's extremely practical and easy. Had this lady who, one of our participants, it was her daughter. She'd never been to a seminar, never met me, never interacted with me. She had a, quote, broken foot. Now it was a fracture. It wasn't a bad fracture, but she couldn't walk on it. It hurt a lot. It was swollen and painful right there. And I worked with her using some of the principles that we teach in Holo-SETS. And it was about 3 minutes of work. I mean, the sessions are like 30 minutes. It was about 3 minutes. And she goes, what did you do? The pain's all gone. And so her mother told me, because she came to the seminar 2 weeks later, she told me, yeah, I don't know what you did, but my daughter got up and she was running on her broken ankle the next day without any pain. And so this is the sort of thing that you can almost come to expect when you drop into a higher resonance morphic field that accesses holographic consciousness. You go out of the idea that something's physical and it's real, and you go to a virtual reality subset where all these things become then more possible. And that shift in consciousness is something that can change your life, just the shift alone. Because when you start to see things that way, everything starts to look that way. And it changes how you perceive your reality and how your reality perceives you. It's like that idea, I don't remember who said it, it might have been Nietzsche, but when you stare into the abyss long enough, the abyss starts staring back at you. Well, when you stare into the hologram long enough, the hologram starts interacting with you. And this is what is happening for people in these seminars. Never had any experience, no training, basic muscle testing. And then working with some other technologies that we pioneered in matrix energetics, basically the Windows technology in a special adaptation. And people are having these wonderful things occur within their lives, their physiology, allergies clear, blood sugar balances. We had one gentleman at a seminar in Houston where he had diabetes that was poorly controlled by his insulin, and he was on 2 medications plus insulin. And the next day after I worked on him for blood sugar in the seminar, he came back and he said, my blood sugar was much lower. I didn't need hardly any insulin. And after my meal, my blood sugar stayed stable. It went up and then gently sloped back down, and I feel tremendously better. We've seen this a lot. I was working just with a lady a few days ago through Skype, again, using a lot of this technology, which once you learn it and you internalize it, it becomes you. You can run it as a pattern. she had hurt her back. She's 69 years old. She'd hurt her back lifting a very heavy invalid who lived next door, helping the lady's the lady's husband to get into the bed, and she was incapacitated. She was in the bed for about a week or so, and then she got up and she couldn't go to work for 6 weeks, and she was in terrible pain. And I found she had a dropped kidney, a rotated femur, had some other things, but which we can teach you how to do. It's very easy. And I just held my hand into those thought form patterns, and we moved it around, which again, once you get this, you can learn how to do that very easily. In less than a minute and a half, all of her pain in her whole body was gone. Now, I wanted her to prove this to me because this is pretty astonishing. And so she bent over, she bent backwards, she turned side to side fast, she turned her whole body, and there was no pain anywhere at all. And that took probably seconds to minutes. And this is the sort of thing that, without any training, just come as you are, you can come into a seminar and you can learn how to do this. And it will reorder and restructure your entire perception of reality. Because once you see these things are possible, you will begin to suspect reality is a hologram, or it is virtual, or something unsuspected. It's not what we've been led to believe.
Oh, beautifully put. Beautifully put. You know, I've attended so many of your marvelous seminars. And of course, the first two were out in San Francisco, which to me is just, a fabulous place to be. And a couple of things came to mind as you were speaking. First of all, I know that this is authentically your information. This has come to you. It's not been borrowed from anybody else. This is pure information through Richard Bartlett, which you are sharing very generously with the planet. After interviewing you and getting to know you and attending your weekend workshops, seminars, I think one of the things that is so powerful about what you do is that what you say is, if I can do it, you can do it. And you empower people to have confidence in themselves so that they themselves can do it. Once you have an experience of it, and that's what these weekends do, give the participants an experience of it, nobody can take it away from you.
Right.
And so you build on that. Here you are, sharing it with the world, lifting people up. And the thing I love is that it is unique. I have not heard the stuff that you're sharing anywhere else. I haven't read it anywhere else. And that's why I interview you, because you're the real deal. You always have been.
I deal out on the deck, but I suppose I'm the real deal.
So, Holo-SETS, it was something I absolutely have to do again. In fact, I got to tell you, Richard, after Holo-SETS here in Atlanta, my birthday was coming up, and one of my girlfriends said, "What can I get you for your birthday?" I said, "An anatomy book."
Yeah.
Because my 10th grade biology was years behind me, and you reopened me to an incredible field. And I thought, I'm just going to have to do it my way. And I think that's the other thing that blew me away. The first time I ever saw you on stage in 2007, you said, take matrix energetics, which is what you were teaching at the time, just that. Use it with any modality that you now use. It fits with any modality. It was not, no, do it this way and only this way, and this is the only way to do it. I think that's what won me over.
Well, yeah, I get tired of the technique gurus that say, my way or the highway, it's the Ross Perot School of Healing, now, I do like the Ross Perot part. Well, let's just check under the hood here and see how this thing works, And then you go to Bandler and he says, oh, you've got a worry machine in there. Look how old that is. Let's just take that out of there. Now, isn't that much better, right? So all that, all those experiences and all those references become your your points, your perceptual flags in awareness that allow you to navigate in consciousness to a new understanding like you're discussing. It's very freeing, as Bruce Lee said, free your mind, free your mind. You know, it's very freeing to realize you're in a virtual reality, and the rules that you have made up about how you think things work may not be true.
Right.
And perhaps what Jed McKenna says is no belief is true. So that gets really interesting because I don't believe my own BS. I'm a Taurus. That's my astrological sign. Probably a Taurus with two Gemini twins, one on the head and one on the tail, and they're riding in different directions simultaneously. You know, because I've got 5 planets in Gemini and I'm a 29-degree Taurus. So you know what that means. You know, just barely. Elizabeth Clark said, Richard, that 29-degree Taurus just keeps you from being completely unbearable with all that Gemini, right?
Yes. And it keeps you, well, it grounds you to whatever extent.
It does.
We're not even grounded, though.
The thing about Holo-SETS and everything else that we teach is it's imminently and immediately usable and practical. And anybody can learn it, anybody can do it. If it were not so, I would not bother even teaching it, because why teach something that isn't available to everyone and cannot be utilized and get the same results for everyone? It's not about some personality. It's not about me. It's not about anybody else. It's about accessing the state of consciousness that allows for the multiplication of possibility, the conceptual loaves and fishes, if you will, that then opens the doorway for new understanding and new possibilities for you.
And what you show them is, come on in, the water's fine. You can do it.
Well, I mean, those fins in the water may or may not be sharks. You just don't know, right? You know?
I remember, oh gosh, Richard, it blew me away when you were talking about, the first time I heard about frequencies.
Yeah.
And you talked about dolphins.
Oh, God.
Oh, God is right. And you went flying across the stage, crashed into the massage table where 3 of your students were sitting, demolished the massage table. The girls fell to the floor, and I thought, if I didn't get it before, I got it now. Uh-huh.
Well, if you're talking about, was that Chicago? You're talking about a seminar that William and I were at, I think.
No,
yeah. People more than once. Because what happened is I wasn't even talking about the freaking dolphins. Forget that. I try not to talk about them. And this is not about matrix energetics right now, but to talk about it, since we're talking about it, what happened, I was up there talking and teaching, and all of a sudden my feet lifted up off the ground and turned at like a 30-degree angle, and I went sideways with my feet off the ground. I was actually levitated, went sideways, and I thought, I'm glad William, that's my buddy, I'm glad William's right there, he's going to catch me. Well, just as I was about to get there, and it seemed like I was moving very slow, although it had to be very fast, otherwise I couldn't have been levitating. It was like a scene out of the Roadrunner, and you know, and so anyway, William's feet lifted up and left the ground and turned to the same angle. I hit him, he grabbed me, we went flying across the stage, and the table broke before we hit it.
Wow.
We hit on the broken table. It broke underneath us before we landed on it. So, reality, not so much.
I wish we had captured that on video.
It was on video, probably somewhere. We got a huge archive of old video. We may release that. So I may release that someday, where we start releasing, you know, greatest hits. But I was going to say, you know, a lot of the seminar experience, and this is even true still of MED and Holo-SETS, is I patterned it after Jerry Garcia of the Grateful Dead, because he never played the same guitar solo twice, and I also patterned it after Mel Gibson in the Lethal Weapon movie, where he's up on the building with the person that wants to jump off the roof, and he handcuffs him and goes, "You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts," you know. So seminar, you know, and then he jumps off, and the net's underneath, right? Of course, but
of course,
scares the hell out of his partner Roger, you know. So it's one of those things. It's also something that Carlos Castaneda talks about in a book where he goes through an initiation where he actually thinks he's leaping off a cliff into the abyss, and he just has to trust and leap, and then something happens and his consciousness shifts. We've done that on stage a few times where people have been so close to the abyss of their own personal awareness, and where reality shifted so much, and this happens in the Holo-SETS and MED seminars as well, where you cannot find the old reality. And this is one of the key thoughts I wanted to share in closing. We're probably getting close to the end of this interview. I wanted to share is it's the perceptions that drive the experience. What if your perceptions, what you see in your mind's eye, hear in your mind's ear, and experience in your emotions could suddenly shift like in the blink of an eye, and you went back and couldn't find that? How is that going to change the way you look at everything from that moment on, and from that moment behind? Retroactively, it could change your whole life up to that point. This is the sort of thing that's possible with this technology.
Which is why I just am so grateful that you are here now in my reality and able to share the information coming through you, your original thought, quote unquote, your original thought, quote unquote, because this is transforming our planet. Richard, thank you so much for once again being my guest. I love interviewing you. We'll do it again. We'll do it quarterly because you have so much to share. You are moving forward by leaps and bounds. And I'm just honored to be on the same rocket ship with you.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you, Maxine.
And everybody, I hope that you will join me again when once again we move into the magic. And I'm just reminding you of something you already know, which is when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. Talk to you next time. Bye for now.